Maravelously Clever, or The Clever Friendship. Chapter 1. It was the most perfect spot in the whole wide world, because it was a place of beauty and friendship, a perfect beauty being valued by good friends. Everything looked very soothing at this lovely hour of late afternoon. The big lake was immaculately smooth, like a huge mirror that would keep loyally the whole wide world inside it. All around were floating swimmingly softly these vague figures of all of those big trees and dense shrubs that would be framing this gigantic lakey mirror. After all, any well-respected luxurious mirror that would wish to honor, to glorify its reflections would need to have a very dramatic, elaborate, carved framework, isn't it? So there you have it. Here it was about this dearest chain of trees and shrubs above and inside the water, a chain of upsiding trees and shrubs that would grow gently into the magical world of the lakey mirror. Well, it is more noticeable with the trees, upsiding business, you know. A small tender circling motion would emerge now on the face of the water, spreading more and more to be followed very swiftly by this cheerful, powerful, noisy sound of a plash, out of which would be jumping, flying high above, the shiny, black, flexible body of our dear friend the otter. Within not even a second would be heard the second plash, which out of it would emerge our other dear friend, the capybara. "He is late. I can't stand it when animals are late," was grumbling the very well-mannered and honorable capybara. "Oh, don't be such a grumbler. Be tolerant towards our dear friend. He has probably a good reason to be late. He doesn't do it to spite you, you know. And it is just 3 minutes after," say the not less honorable but not that accurately mannered the jumping otter. "You are probably right," grumbled understandingly now our dear friend the capybara. "And besides, here he comes," announced joyfully the jumping otter. Pum, pum, pum were sounding now the jumping steps of the approaching little Mara, the one we were waiting for. Maras, you know, move spring about with their whole body in this four-legged undivided motion, just like an elastic vigorous spring would. "Oh, I'm so sorry," started his apologizing speech from a distance, which was not very far away now, with his apologizing word jumping up and down, losing a bit of their worthy body in the process, but still being quite understandable. "I wash Ridish a bush, and I wash so concentrate." His words were flying a bit all over the place. Translation: "I was reading a book, and I was so concentrated in it that I have lost a bit the track of time," was telling us this flying about explanation. "Suddenly, when I have realized it, I went rapidly to see what was the exact time on the big grandfather's clock in the barn, which has indicated 5:10. So I have known that I would be a little late, but merely a little bit," has been declining his so sweet face, the small apologizing so hard, our dear friend, the little Mara. "Well, the essential thing is that you are here now," said the capybara, that has decided not to listen to this small voice in his head that was calling him to give an elaborate lecture about accuracy of showing up in the exact time for meetings to the sweet little apologizing Mara. Well, he was trying so hard, firstly to be on time and then to apologize. The lesson, I believe, has been learned. Very well. Was summing up the self-debate our dear friend the capybara, that you must understand wanted only the very best for his dearest friends, even if sometimes it would have been a tad too demanding, but he would always mean well. It would come out of the very best intentions. You must understand it. The jumping otter that was flying out and into the water in the meantime looked very pleased now. He knew how his dear friend the capybara felt about people, animals, not being on time, and he immensely appreciated the gesture of giving up the educational lecture about time. He was very thankful to their dear, well-mannered and highly knowledgeable friend for everything he would have taught them. But today it was about having fun. And so he was very happy that our dear precise friend, the capybara, was getting it. Great. Well, look at you, said the dear otter joyfully to their friend, the little vigorous Mara. I'm so glad to see you. So, on which back would you like to climb on now for the passage of the lake? The little Mara looked at both of them, anticipating in the water. He knew that with the otter it would be a lot of fun, with all of those playful, frisky, watery tricks, and that with the capybara it would be a very sound and dignified voyage, straightforwardly to the other bank, without any frisky motion. I would ride on your back if I may, addressed himself, our sweet Mara, to his sound friend the capybara. He wanted to please him, and he knew that the otter would understand, which he has, of course. Off we go. And so they swam along just swimmingly. Well, presentations are now in order of things. So, the capybara's name is quite logically and naturally Cappy. The jumping, playful otter would have Reto as a name, coming out of the inverted, upsiding, playful logic of it all. And our sweet and smart little Mara would be called Loose, which is, of course, short in some manner for maravelously, which is, of course, the best adverb, the very best characteristic of our dearest friend the Mara, that would be marveled by everything and would marvel so cleverly and charmingly everybody, absolutely everyone around him. How lovely for him and for them. Well, Loose and Mara and Cappy, the capybara, are rodents, as squirrels and beavers and mice are. They belong to this big family of gnawing, nibbling mammals that would nibble wizardly absolutely everything. Mind you, our dear friend Cappy belongs to this branch of the rodents family, which happens to be the largest. Reto, our otter, is a sea-swimming mammal that is related to the weasel and to the mink. This is one very fine way to look at it, but we could also say that Cappy, Reto, and Loose are all fine mammals that look like some sort of a little dog. And also you could say, draw, that the little darling Mara would look like a rabbit. And again, of course, you could be saying that the capybara in general, and our dear Cappy in particular, would look like a small mini-sized hippopotamus. So official definitions are most certainly important, but they are not the only way to be looking at things. They are most definitely not everything. Aside from them, with all due respect to their role as indicators, we would draw our very own science characteristic about things. And we would be very happy with our self-made way about it all. We would treasure it, having our own way about it loosely. So now, with the introductions being made, let's talk about the party to which our three friends are heading off as we speak, at this fine hour of late spring afternoon. Well, dear Mrs. Hippo was in charge of the party, as she would frequently be, because she just loves to throw a good party to her good friends, and any excuse for it will be gladly welcome. She has been working long and hard on this one, because it was a very important and significant party in which we would be celebrating the blessed arrival of the flowering, blossoming spring to our woods and gardens, to the whole wide world, really. She has been trying to please everyone, she has prepared everyone's favorite treats. From the so creative and indeed tasteful appetizer, or hors d'oeuvre, as you would say in French, which she would, our cosmopolitan dear Mrs. Hippo, to dessert, passing through the main dishes in the way. And so she would prepare exquisitely, well and most lovingly, all sorts of pastries and pies made of fishes and vegetables, and she would add fish and chips as well, since absolutely everybody simply adores it. It is a winner in every party. And of course, to everyone's delight, she would have prepared, well, she actually has, all possible sort of desserts that would be made in this very creative and lavish manner. Any kind that you could have dreamt of, and even those you couldn't have. And all this dreamy, tasteful world was kept aside, concealed, as a lovely surprise for later. The surprise would be a big part of the taste of it, of course. Everything was very meticulously and most beautifully in place now. Our dear Mrs. Hippo has been supervising every little detail, but also arranging many things herself. She has, of course, a big team to help her with this huge and very important task. The honorable guests of Woody Marvel were invited to 6 o'clock p.m. Now, at 5:50, Mrs. Hippo was absolutely ready to be the perfect host that she always most certainly has been. There are always those who would appear to your door few minutes before the formal hours, which is inscribed very beautifully on the luxurious invitation. So she must be utterly prepared to be receiving them, as her dear mother taught her. Our Cappy was one of those early comers, but apparently not today. Oh, never mind all that, he was saying to himself, accepting it, while scrolling vigorously towards the other bank of the mirrory lake where the party is to take place, with our little Mara loose on his back. They were here to have fun, and indeed fun they shall have, he was phrasing decisively to himself, our good old Cappy. They were just few minutes on the lakey road when suddenly he said to Luz, "Hold tight, dear friend. You are in for a little surprise." And then instantly, very swiftly, he jumped with a great deal of power on and over the spreading branch that was leaning against the face of the water, only to provoke the contrary motion of this branch that would motion them forcefully up in the air, high above the face of the water, much to Luz's amazement, but very much to our Cappy's utter amazement as well, as he has never tried it. Luz was in the sky, literally. Such fun. "So you see," said Cappy, when they were landing on the face of the water, into it to be precise, "your good old well-mannered Cappy could come up with some fun ideas, huh?" "Oh, yes, completely and most utterly," was confirming enthusiastically our so happy Luz, that was having so much fun up there in the air. "You are the best." Reto was flying above them now to be adding from his side to the joyful playfulness. And so, since this very successful first flying about, using the leaning trees as a jumping board, our dear Cappy wouldn't have missed any good opportunity to regenerate this very fun idea. That is to say that he would jump over every single branch that would be able to be lifting them high above, using this clever momentum, being started off by this motional incentive that was very simply and so very cleverly this motion of thrusting the branch downwards into the water to be gaining its strong power of resistance. So simply and so powerfully right. Well, yes, this special fashion of progress was a lengthener. The way did take longer with all this jumping, but no one minded at all. Fun, it was decided, was an integral part of things. And if it takes longer, so be it. Fun needed some room, and they were more than happy to give it the space it asked for. Luz loved to personify things that would be dear to him, or with some sort of significance. Hence the he when regarding to this important fun business. Mr. Fun, if you will.